Billy,
Okay.
it's an honor and a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you so much for taking a minute out.
So glad to be here, Joe. Really excited.
Yes, sir. So let's dive in to your world a little bit. Before we do that, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic did so much to change all of us in the way that we viewed the world. How did you get through that pandemic era, and how has it influenced your creativity and the way that you roll today?
Well, it was kind of a shock to the system for me as it was for everybody else, because so much of my work, although I do playwriting by myself and TV writing by myself, it's all about working with other people and getting it to other people that I crave. So, yeah, it was big. But I did one of the things that I found that was perfect was I had plenty of time to write this book I'd always wanted to write, called Out of My Head,
Yeah.
um, about how my struggles to make a life in the arts, things that I'd wanted to talk about, and that I had been talking about a lot with young people who are always asking, how do you get into kids TV writing? What happened with rent? How do you make money with this stuff? What do you say at parties when your grandparents don't understand what you're doing? Your friends don't think you have a life. So I put that all together into a book, and that kept me pretty busy, actually.
So do you think if the pandemic wouldn't have happened, it would have been put on the back burner for a while longer?
Who knows?
Yeah,
I
right.
never know. There's so many ifs with my business,
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I think eventually I would have written something like it, but I'm glad I had time to do it then.
So talk to me. So I want to get into your idea of there's this dream when you're getting into the arts of what your life is going to be like. And then
Mhm.
there's the reality of the way that it actually happens. What has been the biggest contrast between the dream and the reality?
Wow, it's all contrast. Well, the thing that's the same is it actually feels the same. I found a way, and I think all artists do as you work on it for a while, you can find a way to feel that glory, that joy, but it's not in anything that looks like what you imagined. Because there aren't that many things you can imagine. If you're in the theater, you think, I'm imagining I'm going to be on Broadway. People will know my name. I'll make a lot of money from it, or I'll make money from it. Whatever your art is, one needs to, you have that kind of rather simple, dreamy hope. But you get into the grit of it and the reality that you're going to be rejected so many times that the world does not want a new voice. Everybody thinks they do. Um, and I think the world needs a new voice very badly and needs
Yes.
new insights and new joy. Um, the first reaction they're going to give you is no, I don't get that. That's not what life, certainly anything involving money, they're not going to give you for a long time for doing something new that's purely your own. I guess the hardest thing for me about it is finding your own voice, your not only your own way to express yourself, um, but your own life, way to make a life with that. Because I mean, the world, I didn't even know there wasn't going to be an internet. There was nothing like that.
Yeah.
There was no streaming when I was in drama school. In fact, we didn't even consider musicals as art. So much changed when I got out. And I found that I thought I was going to be Harold Pinter, like a really important playwright who writes a play every couple of years and it's recognized in the world and taught in classrooms. Nothing like that ever happened.
Yeah.
But I love my career. It's completely my own and very different than all that. And I think that's true for my artist friends in general.
I think there's a couple things I wanted to key in on that. About you being you and tapping into who you are. I remember interviewing Josh Mallerman. He wrote Bird Box, and
Mm.
he's a pretty prolific writer. And I'd interviewed him a few times. And the second time I interviewed him, it was after the Netflix movie came out, and it was a big deal. And he was talking about going to the party with Julia Roberts and all of the actors and everybody, and just being completely freaked out. And somewhere along the lines, his brain said, "You're a freak just like them. You're going to be okay." And he completely calmed down, right? And it's just that moment, right? Between
Yeah.
you want this thing so badly, but when you get in the room with the people, there's this imposter syndrome. There's this, all of these things, these towering, like, echoes of your younger life saying you can't do this or you never thought. And then you're there and you got to convince yourself you're you, be you, right?
Well said. Well said. It's very hard. What is it to this imposter syndrome thing? Who gives us that? It's
So,
just everybody I know in the arts. You think I suck, no matter how
yeah.
many successes. I asked a friend of mine who has a Broadway musical right now, who has a few, and did a movie for Disney. I said, "What's it feel like to be a success?" He said, "I still feel like a loser."
Yeah.
It's never enough. The trick for me is you've got to enjoy what you are,
Yeah.
and have faith in the process, and I mean, it's not easy. It's very hard, but I think talking about it and talking to other people like you in the arts helps.
I think the beauty of the upside of imposter syndrome is there are so many amazing people on this planet, and it's the antithesis of what we get fed by the media. Because there are so many great people that fill in this space of all of this garbage that we get shoveled, of all of these extreme stories. It bleeds, it leads, you know? So I think
Mhm.
that's probably somewhat of a healthy notion for us to think, there's so many great people. I just want to be one of them.
Yeah, that people are great.
Yeah.
That everybody, I'm noticing that more and more. That I just everybody has a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Um, I have time to stop and listen to homeless people or people who are asking for money as you walk down the street. But everybody, people on their way to go work at the hospital, they have a fascinating story. So I agree with what you just said.
I got to the end of a documentary last night. For the first time in my life, I felt really sad about the fact that this movie's become big. It was on Netflix, and it was about a mom that was bullying her own daughter through texting. Really twisted story. And I'm like, why did that affect me so much? And I got up this morning and I realized I'm interviewing so many amazing human beings every day that have stories that would be captivating, that we can celebrate as humans. And they put this person up that clearly has a very twisted and sick psychosis. And I just feel like America has just kind of succumbed to these levels of extolling so much bottom depth humanness that I wish we would raise the bar and celebrate the
Yeah.
beauty and magic that we all feel in these very small moments, like with the homeless cat that you know nothing about. There's so much beauty and there's so much real that goes in there instead of just parading all of this stuff that's so bizarre that should be in a psych or therapy office instead of Netflix, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I was on my way to Sweden by plane a couple years ago for a show, and I was changing in the middle of the night. It was like lots of changing planes and time zones. I didn't know. And at one point, I was in Holland, in Amsterdam, changing planes. I didn't really know what day it was, and it was just after Israel had been attacked. So on TV, it's all violence and hatred.
Hmm.
And so while I was in the airport, the computers stopped working. So the line got bigger and bigger. I was in this line. I needed to make a change. It got bigger and bigger until there were like hundreds of thousands of people just waiting in this line. Lines. I mean, it's spread out wide. People with babies, uh, and people from all around the world speaking all different languages. And everybody was so cool.
Yeah.
Nobody was mean to anybody else. We were
Uh-huh.
all friendly. And I thought there's just a momentum of humanity that is so much better
Yeah.
than these few stories that lead on the news.
Yeah. You're totally right. You're 100% right. So let
Yeah.
me ask you this. If I was to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day right now, and you needed to boil down what you do on a daily basis, how would you
Yeah.
explain what your job is?
Wow. Well, just first of all, that I'm a playwright and that I love it. I love making plays and telling stories. Um, and if you do, you know, I'd love to talk about it. I mean, I'd be very positive to those kids because
Yeah.
I'm an optimist. I realize how hard it is that you're going to get rejected all the time. But that it's fantastic. That I think it's a great thing to do.
So
I would love
when
to talk to those kids.
Oh, absolutely. So when you were 12,
Yeah.
what did you want to be? What was your dream life?
Uh, I think I wanted to be president.
Okay.
I don't want that anymore.
Yeah, right.
Although I'm a little too young for it. But and then there was a while I wanted to be a jazz flutist. Actually, I played flute, and in the '70s that was a very cool thing to do. It's
Yeah.
more of a rarity now, but I had a little band and we improvised. I didn't think about doing plays. That sort of overtook me because I needed to in college.
Yeah. One of the first interviews I ever got on my show's been around, Neon Jazz, since 2011. One of the very
Mhm.
first interviews I got was with Hubert Laws.
Oh, really?
And I just kept thinking, I'm thinking this. Yeah, exactly. I
I
wasn't thinking
worship.
he's amazing. And I remember kind of thinking in the back of my mind, I just started the show. There's no street cred. How did this happen? But he was so gracious. He was so wonderful. And I remember at one point he got to that point in his life where he said, I was at a car wash the other day, and there was a dude that was getting really weird about me being there and just knew who I was. And he said, I've hit this point in my life where I'm tired of accumulating and I just want to give it out and give it away. And in a very metaphoric way, I think he was talking about that moment of just finding this guy that was green, that had a jazz show and a passion for the music and the art form. And he was like, let's give it a shot. And it was seminal. He was so good. In fact, his plug for my show was so good that years later they did a documentary on Gregory Porter and they let all of these fans do their own music interpretation. Someone used that plug in one of their pieces of music. So Hubert's echoed and reverberated, but yeah, it was amazing for sure.
Cool
Um,
for you. Very cool
yeah, it was
experience.
fun. So talk to me a little bit about this love of jazz. How did this love of jazz begin for you?
Well, I didn't really know what it was. My father listened to opera. They didn't even like the Beatles at first,
Yeah,
but I found it in middle school, as we now call it. I guess it was junior high, that I loved improvising. In other words, I always had a thing for chords. I could just hear chords, um, and I loved on the flute. So I play chords on guitar or piano. But I just found myself messing around in the music room one time, and the teacher was very impressed with it and said, "That's jazz." They were playing like blues chords, and I was just being creative with it.
yeah,
So although I'm not gifted in that field, I think what I love so much is improvisation. The idea that there's a very tight structure, but within that, invent, just invent. And I think
it,
all the arts need to learn from jazz.
yeah,
Even a Beethoven symphony performance, it should feel like they've never played it before.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah,
hard when every note and every you've been conducted very specifically. It's still for the first time. And with
yeah,
playwriting, I find even though I do it in several drafts, I go over and over again. Each time, it's better to feel like it's fresh, and you're just seeing what's there, what's possible, and inventing and surprising yourself, rather than just kind of going through the structure of it. This is
So
what I anyway.
yeah, no, I get it totally. So as a writer, what was the first time that you gave somebody something you wrote and you saw that twinkle or you felt that bulb go off? Was there a moment like that?
Yeah, I guess my first play I wrote in college, at which time I knew nothing about writing plays. Um, And so, of course, a lot of it was just, the audience didn't know what was going on, but there was like 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half that they all started laughing. And it wasn't something I thought was funny. It was just something I thought was sort of personal and quirky. And they laughed, which meant to me, when somebody laughs, it's like with improvisation. It just works. You can't even say why. It's working. You like in the jazz, you watch people in their seats, the breathing, the way they shift, you can tell. Are they with you? And so it was a very short time, but that's kind of the bug that bit me that said I have to keep doing this till I can stretch that out, that minute and a half, figure out what that is.
Yeah. So if you walk through that door after our interview and you run into that younger 18-year-old version of you ready to charge into the world and you were just like gave the highlights of what you've lived as a creative, do you think that young version of you would believe it?
No, none of it, because of course the Rent. I was involved in the musical Rent, and that sort of I never thought I would make. I didn't know people made musicals. I just wasn't something I ever thought about doing.
Yeah.
And that that something so angry and dealing with such heavy matter could be a musical. I mean, I'd grown up with The Music Man and Bye Bye Birdie and things like that, which I still love.
Yeah.
But and the writing for children's television, again, I never thought I could do that, or that I'd make a living doing writing for cartoons,
Yeah.
or that I'd enjoy it, that it would be as meaningful to me as writing plays. Um, there are things I would have expected. I would have thought, well, at 12, no, I wouldn't believe any of it.
Yeah, right.
It's one adventure after another.
Absolutely. So, who's been a muse? Who's been a creative force or an inspirational force for you to evolve and to become who you are as a creative?
Well, in a way, I think Joni Mitchell has,
Yeah.
because I'm so into her art and the way that she sticks with it, that she keeps doing exactly what it's like. You can feel with Joni, this is inside her. She's not trying to please anybody. She's not thinking about the critics. Um, she's just going to keep going. Blue is itself, the album Blue is just a constant inspiration for me, that it's so personal and gorgeous and complex and original and risky
Yeah.
and amazing. So I haven't had a person, a mentor telling me that I can check in with ever. If anything, when I went to drama school, I had the opposite of mentors. Everything they told me was for a normal person, which I'm not.
Yeah. Right.
So I should have run screaming. But people like that, like Joni, I guess, have inspired me and guided me in a way.
So throughout the years, you've had the opportunity to work with crews and individuals that most people would dream of just meeting once in their lives. But who was the person that you always looked forward to running into? Because, I have a day job, I'm an IT technician, and there's always people that you run into, and it just warms your heart. You want to catch up. No
Mhm.
matter how busy you are, no matter what's going on, you just know that you're going to smile and you're going to walk away feeling good and warm. Who was that person or people throughout your life in this profession that you just look forward to running into?
Yeah. Well, for a long time, it was Tim Sanford, the artistic director of Playwrights Horizons. It
Yeah.
took years till I got a play there, but he was always interested in my work and always had something nice to say and something critical to say. But he always gave me hope when I ran into him. I'd see his plays and he'd come see mine. Um, and kind of another answer to that question is that anytime I've had an experience, a play, where I worked with somebody, afterwards, we have a great friendship. It's like you've been in the trenches together.
Yeah.
Even if it was all, even if the friendship was all based on work, you come out of it with a great love that lasts. And reunions are great with the old friends in the theater.
Years ago, there was a good friend of mine. He's a filmmaker in Germany now. He made a short film in Kansas City that did real well in a short film fest called Short on Water. And I was a part of kind of doing production and I played a bit part in it. And it was the most exhausting work that I had ever done at that point in my life. It was literally just morning to night and just the whole thing. Like there's a physicality, but there's something that's mentally grueling about it. Have you felt like that in this process of creating?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For example, in a children's television show, Jennifer Oxley is a painter and an animator um, who invited me to team up with her to make a children's show for PBS, a cartoon. To do so, because it's PBS, they don't just bring you in and give you a lot of money. You have to form a company that
yeah.
the money gets funneled to you. But so we had to form a company together, which is a lot of responsibility and, making sure the checks go to the right place. You don't end up in jail and all that. In addition to creating over 100 stories together. And so it was a lot of stress. I mean, we became each other's, the term is like work spouse, your work husband, your work wife.
Yeah.
And we were so close during those years and years. We really survived together. And I feel so again, like when I see Jennifer now, it's great. There's a great love there because yeah, it was grueling, but thrilling. It was as thrilling as anything I've done.
That just gives me more respect for Fred Rogers because he always made it seem so breezy, you know? And he was such a cool cat. He was just so good, but he pulled all those marionette strings. I mean, he was
Yeah, yeah.
who was it? Johnny Costa was his music guy, the jazz pianist, and there was just so many moving pieces, but he made it seem so easy, everything effortless, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's
He
wild.
was a true artist and
Yeah,
producer and
he
creative
certainly
mind.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as you said, it's so hard. There's so many rejections that you go through throughout your career. But ultimately, at the end of the day, as a creator that's been doing this for a long time, what has consistently got you up every day to create these worlds, to persist, to go through all of the red tape that we never see? And to do this
hmm
every day with the precision and also to nurture and keep your soul healthy. What has been that combined effort for you?
Well, so many answers to this,
Yeah,
but I have to be honest, it's need. I need to do it. I don't want to stay in bed. That's depressing.
yeah.
It makes me feel it feels important to me, even if it's not always fun, even if I realize, oh, this is going to suck, having to present this to that person and having to do it feels important. And everybody right now is people ask, what can I do about this, about the state of the world? For me, it's kind of my answer. Do I think my writing is going to change the world? No, but this, in a way, it's how I participate. Um,
Yeah. No, I
so,
totally get it. So let me ask you this. If if you were to walk into a room of everybody that knows your work but may not know your face behind what you're doing and you could get in front of all of these people and tell them a fun story about your career, maybe the first time that you got a standing ovation, maybe a seminal moment of growth that was difficult or something that was beautiful about this process of being in this showbiz world that can be absolutely excruciating, what would be a fun story that you could tell that group?
okay. Uh, one of the, there's one that thing that I'm very proud of is that we did in Peg Plus Cat, our children's show for PBS, we had done a Christmas episode and a Hanukkah episode, the specials like you do for holidays. but we also decided to do a Muslim holiday uh, episode, the Eid al-Adha adventure. So I had
Yeah.
to learn about the holiday, and we brought in plenty of consultants to make sure it was genuine. And I thought it was one of our really fine episodes because it was the holiday is about sharing ultimately and giving to those with less, causes close to my heart. And so we found some math in there. Dividing things by three is a theme of the holiday, and giving to those with less. But what surprised me is it came out at a time, I guess 2016, maybe, when the Muslim community was being particularly demonized.
Yeah.
And so when it came out, we got so many passionate, ecstatic notes from the Muslim community saying about how, gosh, people haven't been looking at me. My kid's teacher said the other day that his name is unpronounceable. We finally feel this episode made me feel proud to be American. I felt like part of the country. And we got so much of that. We thought there might be something negative coming out. Um, but it was all positive, and from people who weren't in the Muslim community saying,
Yeah.
"Thank God, my kid can know about different faiths." And we did a book signing at one point, and I'm Jewish, so I feel a lot of guilt sometimes, and
Yeah.
I just wanted I could. It was hard for me not to cry when the people thanked me for writing that episode. So that's one of the things that it's not like that very often.
Yeah.
Most of the episodes pass by, and most of the things you do either don't work out as well as you wanted, or the timing is wrong, or nobody gets it. This was just a thing where it worked out better than I thought it would.
Yeah, for
The timing
sure.
was it was so necessary at the time, and unfortunately continues to be. But there are going to be the moments.
Yep.
I think it's a career about moments of ecstasy, really, that you
Yeah.
live for. You can't, it's very hard to get that on a regular basis. It's
Yeah.
more often the rejection or just getting put off or saying, oh, we can't do your play after all, or we're just not looking for the sorry, well, I thought we're interested, we're not interested, or just being, not noticed by somebody. That's so common.
Yeah.
You have to talk to your friends about it and laugh about it because it's worth it for those few moments you say, wow, this mattered, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've accomplished and evolved to, more importantly, at this point in your life, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Um, Well, the musical I'm doing now, I think, is going to be really cool. I guess I usually feel what I'm working on is it's based on a Shakespeare story called Troilus and Cressida. I'm doing it with a Korean jazz composer, Ji Lee, who lives in Brooklyn, and
Yeah. I've interviewed. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful
I love
musician.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
good. Oh, thanks for
stellar.
saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be done in Prague and Cincinnati next year, so not too far from you.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm proud of it because I guess it's a response to the way the world is now. It's about a world in which war just keeps going. It's the Trojan War in that case, but no one knows why they're fighting, and no one wants to be fighting it. They think it's a stupid war,
Yeah.
but they just keep fighting. Their only solutions involve killing more people.
Yeah.
And there's a great love story in there that's heartbreaking and original, I think. So anyway, that I hope at this moment it feels like the thing I'm proudest of.
I love it. So at the end of the day, Billy, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone you work with, but you run the show. What is your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
A lonely little boy who's struggling. It's still like that kid who just feels a kind of separation from the rest of the world and wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And but whether it's by the flute or dancing at parties to impress a girl or writing plays or children's television or promoting my new book, whatever it is, that's kind of that. I still feel like that same kid, and it's not a bad feeling at all.
Yeah. No, I dig it. So let me ask you this. I'm going to set this up a little bit here. If I could go back in the annals of jazz and see a performance, there might be one or two. I would love to see Ella the first time she got on stage at the Apollo when she blew that room away, or maybe Massey Hall and see that eclectic show with Bird and Dizzy and all those cats. So my question to you is this: if you could get into a time machine and go back into the annals of performance, a play, something done on stage, what would you love to have seen?
Oh God! Oh, what a great question. There's so many.
Yeah,
There was a Peter Brook production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a realistic one. I'm not doesn't that I would need to go back a little bit. It was like in the 70s, before I was into theater really, but it's everybody raved about it. I mean, it was the only production I've ever heard of that everybody loved. I would have liked to have seen that. But of course, then that can't be my official answer because I could have gone back to see Shakespeare's
Right.
premiere of King Lear, you
Yes.
know, or Beethoven's Ninth for the first time when he didn't hear it and allegedly kept conducting.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God,
That would
so
be amazing.
much.
Yeah.
Or the Greek plays in the Greek days.
There's too much. It's an unfair question.
Yeah.
So, if anyone wants to pick up a copy of your book, they want to reach out any of the good business in your world, where's the best place to go?
My website is billyaronson.com. The
Okay.
book is on Amazon. It's called Out of My Head. But if you just go to billyaronson.com, everything that you could ever want about me is there.
It's all there. Cool. Billy, this has been an absolute honor and pleasure. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure. It's been
Yes, sir.
fun.
Thank you.
Take